This is breaking news.
Today, Governor Murphy is expected to sign a bill that would make it a crime to post the address of judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers and their families. The bill is called Daniel's Law in honor of the son of a U.S. District Judge, Esther Salas. Daniel was shot and killed by a gunman who found the judge's home address online. Judge Salas is attending the bill signing with Governor Murphy. Let's go to it now.
Assemblywoman Annette Quijano, and in the audience, Senator Nellie Poe, Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez, although I've lost Yvonne. Yvonne's right in front of me. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here. We also have in the audience Principal Law Enforcement Advisor Jen Davenport for the Attorney General's Office, who joined us as well. U.S. Marshal for New Jersey, retired Lieutenant Colonel of the State Police, Juan Matos. I've lost Juan, is right over here. First Lady of the great state of New Jersey, Tammy Murphy, a good friend of the Salas and Anderl family, as well as of the Murphys. Guillermo Artias is with us, and many others. And by the way, it is rare when I sign a bill that both all of the prime and second prime sponsors are in attendance. That's Joe and Annette in the prime sense, and Nick and Yvonne respectively in the second prime. We are here today to renew a commitment that those whose responsibility it is to ensure the cause of justice are able to live safe in the knowledge that their important work can continue without fear for their personal safety or that of their loved ones. I am honored today in just a few minutes to sign Daniel's Law and to shield the home addresses and private contact information for our judiciary, prosecutors, and members of law enforcement from public disclosure. It is named in honor and remembrance of Judge Salas's and Mark's late son, Daniel Anderl, who fell victim to a senseless act of gun violence committed by a man who held a grudge not against him, but against Judge Salas and other members of the judiciary, who was able to easily obtain their home address, where he carried out that heinous attack, which also left Mark critically wounded. And Mark, we pray constantly for your continued recovery, and you look, I've not met you before, but you look fabulous. Keep up the great work. We will never be able to bring the man who targeted the judge and Mark and your family and who took Daniel's life to justice for this awful crime. But my hope is that by enacting this law today, ensuring greater protections for those who sit on the bench and enforce our laws, and protecting them from being targeted in the same fashion, we are doing something good for the cause of justice and something good in Daniel's blessed memory. In an ideal world, surely this law would be unnecessary. Our judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers come from every walk of life and every possible background. They are regular citizens who have answered the call to ensure that a society built upon the rule of law works just as equally for the have-nots as it does for those of privilege. But our world, as we know, is far from ideal. And so long as there are those who, for whatever twisted reason, target our judges, prosecutors, or law enforcement officers, Daniel's Law will stand in their way. Judge Salas, New Jersey, stands firmly beside you. And today we show that in the face of an unspeakable tragedy, our state responds not only with thoughts and prayers, which we do, but with concrete action. It is now my high honor and extreme privilege to welcome Judge Esther Salas to the podium. Judge.
Thank you, Governor.
God bless you.
I would like to thank you, Governor Murphy, and all the men and women of the New Jersey legislature who made this day possible. I realize that it's always risky to individually thank people, but I feel the need to thank the prime bill sponsors. Senator Cryan, Senator Scuteri, Senator Poe, Senator Smith, Senator Singer, Assemblywoman Quijano, Assemblywoman Lopez, Assemblyman Caputo, and legislative leaders, Speaker Coughlin and Senate President Sweeney. Many of you reached out shortly after we lost our son Daniel, including you, Governor Murphy, and we thank you for your thoughts, prayers, and concern. As I We'll soon witness the governor signing this trailblazing bill into law. I have to tell you all that there are no words that can adequately express how Mark and I feel at this very moment. While today is yet another painful reminder of the vicious attack on our family, it's also a day to celebrate and to be proud of being from New Jersey. In the days following our son's murder, I publicly called upon those in power to do something to protect my brothers and sisters on the bench. Well, today, Governor Murphy and the brave men and women of our legislature are answering our call and enacting Daniel's Law. Daniel's Law will make a difference. It will protect judges from senseless acts of violence. This groundbreaking legislation provides significant safeguards that are needed in order to protect our justice system and the rule of law. It is my sincere hope that New Jersey's trailblazing bipartisan legislation can be a stepping stone to improvement in the security of federal judges throughout the entire country. And to that end, I would like to thank our hometown senators, Senator Bob Menendez, Senator Cory Booker, for taking the lead on this issue as well. And I don't want to be remiss in not acknowledging Congresswoman Cheryl. Since 1978, 4 federal judges have been murdered, and 2 judges have lost family members to violence. The number of threats against judges is increasing rapidly every single day. Like New Jersey has done, we, the federal government, need a new comprehensive approach to judicial security, particularly considering the vast amount of personal information that's available on the internet. It is my sincere hope that we can address this critical issue at a national level. Specific steps must be taken to restrict access to judges' personally identifiable information, develop ways to monitor serious threats, and improve courthouse and judicial security systems. While much work still remains to be done, today we, as New Jerseyans, today we can breathe a little easier. With today's bill signing, I believe, symbolically, Daniel is doing what he did for his father and I. He is protecting the lives of countless judicial officers. In the seconds before his death, Daniel asked me to keep talking to him because he loved talking to me. Well, Daniel, on behalf of all New Jersey judges, I thank you, son, for all you have done, not just for Daddy and I, but for all judicial officers. Governor Murphy, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for this moment. And I say to all of you, may God bless you all and your families. Have a happy Thanksgiving.
God bless you, Judge. God bless you, Mark, and God bless Daniel. You mentioned we have not one but 2 exceptional United States senators who I know are in this fight to do nationally what we have done in New Jersey. We're going to hear from each of them. Please help me welcome the senior senator from the great state of New Jersey, Senator Bob Menendez.
Well, thank you, Governor. Let me start off by thanking Governor Murphy for his leadership and swift action to sign this bill into law. And to Judge Salas and to Mark, it's an honor to stand beside you today for the signing of Daniel's Law. You experienced a tragedy that no parent should have to endure, and yet in the midst of your grief, you refused to be silent. You made your voice heard with a powerful call to action to better protect the men and women of our federal judiciary. And if it were not for your voice, I truly believe we would not be standing here today to witness the signing of Daniel's Law. To everyone who played a role in getting this done, our thanks to Senators Cryan and Scuteri and Poe, Assemblywoman Quijano, to Assemblywoman Lopez, to all the legislative leadership, Chief Justice Rabner. We are all in your debt in terms of making our judiciary and others more secure by virtue of the law. Appreciate always the First Lady being with us, as she always is, on these groundbreaking events, and the U.S. Marshal, who does a fantastic job in protecting the federal judiciary in our state. However, our work doesn't end here. We must extend these privacy protections nationwide so that no one lives to what Judge Salas and her husband lived through. This is about saving lives, and it's also about protecting the independence of our federal judiciary. Indeed, the idea that any judge at any level of government could be intimidated by threats to their personal safety or that of their loved ones undermines the very concept of the rule of law. Federal judges must be able to interpret the Constitution and our laws, administer justice, and render decisions without fear of retribution and violence. That's why back in September, I, along with my colleague, Senator Cory Booker, who's been an integral part of this whole process, critical to us as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, convinced Chairman Graham to join us in a bipartisan effort. And Congresswoman Sherrill in the House has bipartisan support introducing the Daniel Anderl Judicial Security and Privacy Act of 2020. This federal legislation is a bipartisan, bicameral, and common sense plan to safeguard the personal information of federal judges and their families that could leave them vulnerable to potential threat. Our legislation will shield the personal identifiable information of federal judges and their immediate family members who live with them, including home addresses, social security numbers, school and employer information, and more. It would prohibit government agencies from publicly posting a judge's sensitive information, providing grants and funding to help states and localities defray the costs of strengthening judges' personal privacy, and stop commercial data collectors from trading, licensing, selling, or otherwise making public this information. We also empower judges to request the removal of their personal information if published online, and even to take legal action against those who violate the law. We authorize funding to strengthen security monitoring services so that judges and their families can feel safe in their homes. And finally, we authorize funding for the Administrative Office of the Courts to set up a new threat management capability in coordination with the U.S. Marshals to more proactively monitor and assess online threats, collect intelligence, investigate complaints, and address acts of aggression and violence. You know, in the past several years, we've seen an alarming increase in the number of threats made against federal judges. Between 2015 and 2019, in those short 4 years or so, threats against federal judges and judiciary personnel increased from 926 incidents to 4,449 in 2019. That's almost a 5-fold increase in a span of only 4 years. We expect all Americans to have respect for the rule of law, even when they disagree with the outcome of a case or a particular ruling. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Some individuals carry hatred in their hearts and have deluded themselves into believing that violence is the answer. This government in particular targeted Judge Salas not only because he disagreed with her rulings, but also because he could not accept the judgment of a wise Latina in power. Well, we cannot let sexism, racism, or any other form of hate dissuade us from our efforts to build a diverse judiciary that reflects all of America. I remain proud to have recommended Judge Salas to President Obama, who nominated her to become the first Hispanic woman in history to serve as the U.S. District Judge in New Jersey. We are living in a time of endless vitriol, rising hate, and increased personal attacks. And while we may not be able to eliminate the hatred from someone's heart, we can take action to better protect the men and women of our federal bench. That's why I'm so proud to see Governor Murphy, who will shortly be signing Daniels Law here in New Jersey, and why we remain committed to the passage of the Daniel Androl Judicial Security and Privacy Act in Washington. We will not rest until we have that day in which we have a signing ceremony as well. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Senator Menendez. And I particularly love that first Hispanic woman on the federal. That was a particular another note of Jersey pride. Again, we have not one but two extraordinary senators. Please help me welcome another star and fighter on behalf of New Jersey and all that is good and right, Senator Cory Booker.
Thank you very much, Governor, and I want to thank you especially for your extraordinary leadership today and the quick signing of this great legislation. I am really honored, I'm proud today to be a Jersey boy as I look at this stage and see three branches of government that have come together with a definiteness of purpose and a focus on justice. I want to thank the legislative leaders here that I know each individually, not just as extraordinary legislators, but truly as compassionate, empathetic, driven people to serve and make our state. And in fact, as I've seen many ways, the work that you're doing is influencing this nation. They're working to make our world a better place. I want to thank the Chief Justice for being here. Such a steady hand, such a wise human, and such a loving servant of the state that he too loves and calls home. We are here because of a terrible tragedy. We are here because of the wretchedness of violence and hate. And I just want to say with deep compassion and shared grief with Judge Salas and Mark, I am sorry that you have had to endure what is unimaginable to me. But what is extraordinary is that you have turned this awful, unimaginable hate into your own exhibition of glorious heroism. Daniel's death is not in vain. Martin Luther King talked about the urgency of love, that we must be a nation. And as Senator Menendez pointed out so well, we are at a time of rising hate, rising threats against individuals, especially those who stand in positions of authority and do the difficult jobs of trying to render justice. Martin Luther King also said, I cannot pass laws to make you love me, but we can pass laws to stop you from lynching me. This right now is what we do today. We stop the hate from manifesting into violence. We take practical steps to secure those people in positions of authority. As Senator Menendez said, I am proud to work with him on the federal level to do the same thing. I'm grateful that in this time of rancor and partisanship that we have found a bipartisan core of senators that are working to drive our federal legislation to conclusion. But this is a day where we also must say that we have to not simply pass laws to protect our judges and law enforcement officers, but commit ourselves in the spirit of Daniel, not just to protecting people, but to making sure that we do what the calling of this country is, which is to create a more beloved community. And so today's bill signing, done by people I respect and love in our state legislature, as well as signed by a governor who I so respect, Understand that today's actions are not just for protection. It is not just for defense. It is also a combined chorus of commitment that we in New Jersey are a good community. We are a beloved community. We will not tolerate hate. And we all must recommit ourselves, as this brave family has done, to be agents and instruments in the hand of God for love. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. As always, so well said, and thank you again to each of you guys for your extraordinary leadership. So Daniel, in his memory and in his death, is doing some extraordinary things, as you mentioned, Judge, including the inspiration for this law, a law that none of us would have in a perfect world felt that we needed to do, but we are doing in his name. He's also brought together a group of people. This does not happen often. I mean, this is a stage full of friends, but we're not always, am I right, folks? This is a rare moment. Daniel has brought together a cavalcade of stars. Yvonne and Nellie are both nodding their heads, and that includes you all. But one in particular, a guy who is with us today. Please help me welcome, with great honor, the Chief Justice of the New Jersey Supreme Court, Chief Justice Stuart Rabner.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for inviting me to this ceremony. It is truly an honor to be here with so many leaders who are and will continue to make a difference for the better in our state and in our nation. It is quite an assemblage of people and a treasure for our state. You're right, it is unusual for a sitting judge or a justice to appear at a bill signing ceremony and to speak on behalf of legislation in support. But I made an exception today for two reasons. First, because of the importance of this legislation for the judiciary, current and retired members, federal and state, its importance to other public servants and to the public at large. This new law, as the speakers before me have pointed out so far, will help protect, is designed in part to protect hundreds of judges in our state and federal system. Judges who make hard decisions, day in, day out, in case after case. Their job requires no less. And their safety, and the safety of their families, demands no less than the common sense steps that this legislation puts in place. So I thank the legislature for its swift, unanimous action, and the leaders who are here today who saw to it that that would take place. And I thank the governor for enacting this bill that is so sorely needed, unfortunately. I also want to thank Judge Salas, the second reason that I wanted to be here today. I know Judge Esther Salas not only as a gifted federal judge who is admired by judges and practitioners alike, but as a former adversary in criminal cases, believe it or not, from about 20 years ago. She was as honorable then as opposing counsel as she is today as a judge. I cannot find the words to talk about the unspeakable events of last July. I don't know that they exist, but I believed that Judge Salas would respond with grace, with strength, and with purpose. And you have done all of that and more. I wish you and Mark and your family continued strength as you strive to advance the noble cause that has brought us here today. Thank you, Esther, and God bless.
Thank you, Chief Rabner. It's an honor to have you with us today. The first conversation I had about what has turned into this law was with Judge Salas. The second was with Joe Cryan, and he was leading on this from moment one. Please help me welcome a great leader in our Senate, Senator Joe Cryan.
Thank you, Governor. Your Honor, I need to say thank you for the remarks that you shared with us. I was touched, and I know we all were here as we fought back the tears. And thank you for sharing your personal story and this leadership role in bringing us to here today. And I want to say, although I don't had the opportunity to meet Mark today for the first time, we all know the story, the horrific part of the attack. It is truly an honor that you're with us today, and we pray for your continued good health. I want to thank both U.S. Senators for being here and Justice Rabner for being here as well. You know, for somebody like me, when you're trying to figure out your role in the program, you realize I'm here to bring some gravitas to this program because there's not enough juice on this day. It was the way I figured I'd play it. But I want to thank a couple other folks, as well as my co-prime sponsor, Nick Scutari and Annette Chiano, here in the Assembly. I know he mentioned you, Yvonne, in the Assembly as well. I want to take a moment and thank somebody special who's an advocate for your family, Judge, and for the protection of judges in the State Senate. She is relentless. Our next bill together, I believe, will be voter files, where we look to protect privacy on the voter rolls. And she has been a leader in much of this effort and will continue to do so. And that's my friend, Senator Nellie Poe. Nellie, thank you for all your hard work. She deserves a round of applause. She really does. You know, you wonder at times if as a society that we no longer are we numb to the outrageous things that we see. And do we feel them? And do we truly understand them anymore? There's just so many. And they make us wonder, do we really have a sense of empathy and understanding? And thanks to Judge Salas' leadership, and I'm going to recognize him now, my friend Guillermo Ortiz. Guillermo, as someone who is a counselor and advisor for this bill, I thank you very much for your leadership. We look as a society and have to say to ourselves, what are we doing? And where are we at? We continue to check the box and continue to move on. And today, we choose not to. Today, we choose to stand up and do something. Senator Menendez gave us horrific statistics. And Bob, thank you and Cory for leading the fight to change this nationwide. But they pass by us sometimes because they're numbers. These aren't numbers. This is a name. The two folks to my left, parents who lived the nightmare that no parent ever should, and were cheated out of someone with so much promise and so much potential. To read the story of Daniel, who I never met, who clearly had a foundation of faith and clearly was reaching his potential, his promise, and bringing his self and our society to another level. We were all cheated on July 19th. Something was taken away from each and every one of us when we lost Daniel. And today, in the society we're in, where we just expect this culture of confrontation that never seems to end. A president who fights numbers that are so obvious anyone can see them on the wall. A militia, a group that actually wants to take a governor and literally assassinate and take over a state house and doesn't care who lives and who dies. And we move on. We need to understand as a society that the culture of confrontation has to end. We don't have to win every argument. We don't have to get even every time we turn around. It is horrifying to me to watch people in my district, in my town, in my community that won't wear a mask in the most obvious of factual events in a pandemic, or stand in a social distance way because they have an alternative set of facts. We need to end the culture of confrontation. What I wonder is a young man with the potential and the promise that was taken from us by a monster, whether he would have been one of those leaders to end the culture of confrontation. And what I ask for with the signage of this bill today is, yes, there's more to do. And yes, our leaders in the United States Senate and in the Congress with Congresswoman Cheryl will ultimately prevail, and I know will change so that you have the security, the peace of mind, not as a groundbreaking judge or a respected individual, but because we, as a society, respect our institutions. We continue to tear down everything that's right and just in our societies as if it's something we're entitled to do. We're not. It's fine in a democracy to question our institutions, to argue and make them better. It's fine to have a different and reasonable point of view. It is not fine to be a monster to take away a life not only worth living with cherished memories, but a life taken from us all with so much promise. It is not fine to challenge basic fundamental rights. And it is not fine that we're here today. Today, as much as it is a privilege to be with you, Your Honor, and with Mark, it's not a good day. It's a day that reflects a continued, in my view, disruption and non-belief in the institutions that make us a civilized society. And I hope today that we can provide you the safety of security, but I hope today more than that we begin to work on the respect for our institutions to grow in respect and in process, but more importantly, that we grow in the respect and the belief in each other and common values. It's simply time for the culture of confrontation to end, and quite frankly, it's time to not be numb to the outrageous things that happen around us anymore. Today we stand up, we do something, and I thank Governor Murphy for your leadership and my sponsors and the sponsors of the legislation as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. So well said. Thank you for your leadership. I neglected to acknowledge someone who the chief knows well, a former clerk, our chief counsel, Parimal Garg, is with us as well. So it takes a village, and this is a great example, whether it's Nellie or Yvonne before us or the legislators here on the stage. This happened, it came together out of tragedy, but quickly, Judge, and rightfully in Daniel's name, in both the Senate and the Assembly. So please help me welcome another great leader, Assemblywoman Annette Chiano.
Good afternoon. Governor Murphy, First Lady, Chief Justice Rabner, Senators Menendez and Booker, and Senators Cryan and Scuteri. This location has always held happy memories for me. It was here I was first sworn in as an attorney, and every 2 years since 2008, the voters have returned me to be sworn in with my colleagues for another 2-year term. Each time I walk the halls of the State House, I feel a sense of awe, because only here a granddaughter of a farm worker can be a state representative. It is a privilege and an honor to serve. With that privilege and honor comes responsibility. The responsibility of bringing the voice of our constituents with you to the State House. The responsibility of writing laws that address the issues of your constituents to the State House. And the responsibility of convincing your colleagues to agree with you and vote in the affirmative. This bill was passed unanimously in both houses. My fellow legislators felt strongly about this bill. It happened in Jersey, and we were going to answer the call. As state legislators, our constituents not only are the voters in our districts, but are also residents of the entire state. I know Judge Salas from following her career and cheering her on as a fellow Latina attorney rising through the ranks. Because of her, every little girl and every little boy that has immigrant families, that have families that are considered the other, and individuals that don't see themselves in positions like hers, now can aspire not to be the defendant in the case, but to be the judge, to be the prosecutor, or even the attorney. The tragic events of July 19th ended our peace as a society, changed a family forever, and put us on notice that we need to make changes. Judge Salas and Mark, my heart breaks for your loss. And I'll be honest, I was so delighted and happy to see Mark join us today. But I'll tell you, I came prepared. I have tissues, and Judge Salas already started me off, right? It's frightening to think that a disgruntled person may be able to find the home address and personal phone numbers of judges and prosecutors on the internet so easily. Unfortunately, Judge Salas' story is not unique. Threats to judges and other court workers are increasing. In fact, incidents, inappropriate communications, and threats have substantially increased over the past 3 years. And that's a threat to our independent judiciary because judges and prosecutors need to make difficult decisions that aren't always popular. Protecting the privacy of judges and prosecutors, both active and retired, is key to maintaining that independence of our courts. I'm proud to have worked on Daniel's Law. I'd like to thank Governor Murphy, Senator Cryan, and all the Senate sponsors for the work on and support of the bill. And in the Assembly, I would like to thank the Speaker Coughlin for his leadership, Assemblywoman Yvonne Lopez for your guidance and leadership, and Assemblyman Ralph Caputo for his insistence and leadership. I'd also like to thank Senators Menendez and Booker for their work on this issue at the federal level. We must make sure that it is taken care of as soon as possible. And Judge Salas and Mark, I'm so deeply sorry for your loss, and my prayers are with you. There's still more work to be done to secure the personal information of judges and prosecutors, so Daniel's Law is a crucial first step towards preventing future tragedies. I would say, God bless New Jersey, God bless our governor and all our legislators and the judiciary, because we need you all. Thank you.
Annette, thank you so much. Bless you and thank you for your leadership. Just as you have spoken on Yvonne and the Assembly's behalf, Joe and our next speaker are speaking on behalf of Nellie and the Senate colleagues. Last but certainly not least, a fellow Union County guy, the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and a leader, not just in judiciary matters, but in so many other matters. Please help me welcome Senator Nick Scuteri.
Thank you, Governor, and to the First Lady and Senators Menendez and Booker, thank you very much, and to the Chief Justice as well, and family and legislators, and most importantly to my co-sponsor, the sponsor of the bill, Senator Cryan, for allowing me to be a part of this important piece of legislation. Thank you, Joe. I know Mark, and I know Judge Salas, but I certainly know Mark for much longer. We've had cases together many, many times over the years, so I was just incredibly saddened to hear about the terrible news and the tragedy, and my thoughts and prayers are with the both of you, not just today, but going forward. And I just wanted to be here. As you probably know, there was just so many bill signings, and I think this is only the second one in the 18 years I've been in the Senate that I've actually attended. I wanted to be here because of the importance of this. The integrity and independence of our judiciary and all our branches of government, to me, is the thing that I care about most in this role as Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman. And I spoke to Joe and Annette, and there's so much more that we can and will do to help continue to have an independent judiciary to secure members of our government against threats, foreign and abroad. The things that we do on an everyday basis, you just have no idea, the threats that you may face, the decisions that you need to make, the strong positions that you need to take, and just the enormity of the risks involved in the jobs that we have. So today, I believe, is an important step. I'm honored to be able to be part of this process, but I want to say today that this is the beginning, not the end, of what we need to continue to do, because as the statistics show, this problem hasn't gotten any better, it's only gotten worse. And there are a variety of factors for that. I think it starts at the top with the leadership of our country continuing to suggest that violence is okay, that hatred is okay, and that we no longer have a civil discourse. But it's not just political, it's in our courts as well. The acceptance of authority is just not there. We need to continue to take steps to safeguard people to make sure that they can be in these positions of authority and take these important jobs on with less fear, not with no fear, but with less fear of retribution for what they do. So with that, I just want to say briefly, I'm so sorry for your loss, Mark and Judge, and I'm happy to continue in this fight. And to Joe, thank you for allowing me to be part of this solution. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
This is not for today's business, Mark, but I wonder if maybe down the road over a beer or a glass of wine, you could give us some Nick Scuteri stories.
There's a couple.
I think there'd be many who would welcome that opportunity. I think this is a little, I have to say the following, this is an incredibly poignant, poetic observation. You lost Daniel on July 19th in North Brunswick. You can't, only the good die young, as they say, right? Today, as we speak, there is a funeral procession winding its way to Wrightstown, to the General Doyle Cemetery of Rico Samaru, 21 years old, from North Brunswick, United States Air Force senior airman who was killed in South Korea. It's extraordinary, 20 years old and 21 years old. And it just occurred to me that's happening literally as we sit here today. So God bless him. And certainly God bless Daniel. I think what we're going to do, we normally have these big mosh pit moments around the table, but we're not going to do that today due to social distancing. There are 2 pens today only for the judge and for Mark. But I think what we might do is all of us stand at our place, and would love to invite Nellie and Yvonne up here, and maybe Carlos to join us and take a socially distanced picture. And then if I could ask the judge and Mark to join me at the table to actually sign the bill. Would that be okay? So come on up, ladies and gentlemen. We'll all stand up in our sign of the time. I can't see where the, Edwin, can you, so above the white light is where our guy is. Maybe if you want to go beyond the chief.
Thank you. Is this far enough? Are you good?
Perfect. Right here, please. This will qualify as a CDC. That's 1, 2. We're good. Thank you. Can I ask Judge and Mark to join me over here? In a hyper-hygienic way, so after I sign this, Brady's going to take the pens, wipe them down, and we're going to separately get them to you. The sign, we know it's the year 2020, right, for all the tragedy and challenges. So this is Assembly Bill 1649, sponsored, and I want to read them all by Annette Chiano, Yvonne Lopez, Craig Coughlin, Ralph Caputo, Joe Cryan, Nick Scuteri, Nellie Poe, Bob Smith, Bob Singer, and then a whole host of other co-sponsors. The synopsis is Daniel's Law prohibits disclosure of certain personal information of active, formerly active, and retired judicial officers, prosecutors, and law enforcement officers and their family members, establishes crime and civil action for disclosing such information. And the current version was amended by the Senate as of October 29, 2020. That'll be for Judge Salas. Mark, you're up next. That'll be Mark for you. Can I get glasses off here? Just a moment. This is now the law of the land. One more, is that all right, guys? Ladies? I think actually you should hold this.